Hey, honey,
Yes, Barry?
let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Fascina el viento, este ritmo de palmas, sin ti naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I'm your host, Barry Kessler, and I'm just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. Maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. That music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez, and Alberto is the owner of the Lapa Lapa group of restaurants. Those are the Lapa Lapa, Puerto Vallarta's oldest restaurant on the famous Los Muertos Beach, and the El Dorado Restaurant Beach Club right next door. So you can enjoy that fantastic view of the Los Muertos Pier, all lit up at night in beautiful colors, or during the day in its grand splendor for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, seated with your toes in the sand right at the water's edge. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. This week we are going to meet a rock and roll realtor. He's my kind of guy. He's your kind of guy too. His name is Victor Vera, and people refer to him as Che Victor. And Victor is a singer in a rock and roll band. It's called the Gecko Band, and the Geckos, they perform all over the Bahia de Banderas. But before we get to Victor and the Gecko Band, let's see what's happening in Puerto Vallarta this week, January 28th, 2021. Well, it's been an entire week, actually just a little over a week since I returned home to Los Angeles from my third trip to Puerto Vallarta during the pandemic. I got home on the 19th of January, and I got to tell you, I really miss Puerto Vallarta already. Actually, it usually sets in about the time that the airplane taxis to the runway on its way to wherever you live from Puerto Vallarta. At least that's when it happens for me, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of how it happened for you too. I had a great time. I'll give you a blow-by-blow account of my trip. There's a lot to talk about, though, that is coming up. I did get my day pack back, by the way. It's good to get it back. It's like an old friend. Got it back pretty much in one piece, except for, a little money and a little credit card that was missing out of it. But everything else was intact, including, thank goodness, some pre-recorded interviews that I had on a SD card, on a memory card inside of my recorder. This is the day pack that I left on a public bus back in November, and I never expected I would ever get it back. But with a little money and some elbow grease and some help with my friends, I was able to get her back, and glad to have it right now. I'm actually recording into my old recorder once again. Now, no sooner did I get into Puerto Vallarta, this was on the 9th of January, that the governor called for a partial shutdown, or kind of a slowdown, and it has been in effect, I think it started around the 11th or 12th, and it will go until the end of this month. We'll talk about that briefly, and then we gotta cover some new issues that are facing folks that are actually planning on visiting Puerto Vallarta, or actually anywhere in Mexico. There's some new CDC rules out there that are requiring tests before you get on a plane from Mexico to the United States or Canada. We're going to get to the nitty-gritty about that. Then I'm gonna give you some options, and I'm gonna talk about where you can get tested in Puerto Vallarta. And there are going to be many places, and there are already many that are getting set up. We're going to talk about what kind of test you can take, because there is a choice. We're going to talk about the costs of these because they do cost differently, and what to do if you get a positive test and can't fly back. So we're going to cover that first before I get to the details of my latest visit. And hey, by the way, did you hear that the president of Mexico, President Manuel Lopez Obrador, has a case of the Rona? Did you hear that? Yeah, that's right. That is correct. The 67-year-old populist Moreno Party standard bearer, who openly rejects the cobre boca, the face cover. He's the one who rejects the strict lockdowns. He reports that he has actually a mild case of the coronavirus. Tells everybody he's good. He is on the mend. And, he's an interesting guy. We're going to talk about AMLO either later today or maybe more in depth next week. We've got a lot. We have a ton to cover. I'll have a lot of this stuff in the show notes. Make sure that you go and check them out. So things changed almost the minute I hit ground in Puerto Vallarta. Actually, it was the following day or the day after that. I don't know what it was. But they went into another partial shutdown like they did back in November when I was there last time. They had the bars and restaurants all closed by 10 o'clock at night. No nightclubs. There was no dancing. There was... you weren't allowed on the beach after 3 o'clock. Old folks like me, over the age of 60, were banned from going to places like Costco and the Home Depot. And of course, that doesn't matter to me because when I'm on vacation, I don't go to Costco and I don't go to Home Depot. Anyway, it's science, right? It's all scientific. Everything is about the science, right? I mean, come on. I live in California. So anyhow, this was going on. Everything had to be closed by 10. So if it was a taco stand or if it was Cafe des Artistas, it didn't matter which one it was. You had to be done. You had to have your table cleared, and you had to be cleared out of the restaurant. That's how that was, or out of the taco stand. If you wanted to buy something, you could go to like an OXXO, or you could go to Lay. I think Lay was open, or you could go and see you could go see Salvador over on the Malecon and buy some candy from him. He was still open. Shh! Don't tell anybody. He was still going. Anyway, I actually was able to get in under the wire for this newly required test that you need to take when you are entering from the United States, or entering from Mexico into the United States. And I have the guidelines here from the CDC. This is long, and I don't even have everything. You want to go over to the CDC website and check out the FAQ, the frequently asked questions, FAQ, I guess it is. But I think I've got most of the important stuff here covered. I have all this stuff in the show notes. Come to my show notes, and you can see it all. If you have a hard time digesting all of this, but here we go. The new requirement is that you have to have proof of a negative COVID-19 test or recovery from COVID-19 for all air passengers arriving in the United States. So if you plan to travel internationally, you're going to need to get tested no more than 3 days before you travel by air into the United States. You're going to need to show that you have a negative result to the airline before you board your flight, or you need to be prepared to show documentation of recovery, proof of a recent positive viral test, and a letter from your healthcare provider or a public health official stating that you were cleared to travel. The requirements of this order only apply to air travel into the United States and not land or border crossings. Now, what is a verifiable test, you might ask? Well, a verifiable test result must be in the form of written documentation, paper or electronic copy of a laboratory test result, The testing must be performed using a viral test, NAAT, or a nucleic acid amplification test, or an antigen test, and negative results must be presented to the airline prior to boarding. The test result documentation must include information that identifies the person, a specimen collection date, and the type of test. A negative test result must show that the test was done within the 3 days before the flight. A positive test result must show that the test was done within 3 months before the flight. Even if you have taken a COVID-19 vaccine or have tested positive for antibodies, you still need a negative COVID-19 test or documentation of recovery from COVID-19. If you're traveling to the United States or Canada, you must get tested no more than 3 days before your flight to the United States or Canada departs. Make sure that you receive your results before your flight departs and have your documentation of your results to show to the airline. Then after you arrive home, it's suggested that you get tested 3 to 5 days after your travel, and that you stay home for 7 days after travel. Even if you test negative, they say you should stay home for the full 7 days. If your test is positive, isolate yourself to protect others from getting infected. If you don't get tested, it's safest to stay home for 10 days after travel. Avoid being around people who are at increased risk for severe illness for 14 days, whether you get tested or not. Always follow state and local recommendations or requirements related to travel. Keep in mind that federal testing requirements must be met to board a plane to the United States, and some state and local governments may have similar or more restrictive testing requirements for air passengers arriving in their jurisdictions. Always check and follow state and local recommendations or requirements related to travel in addition to federal requirements. Now, if your trip is shorter than 3 days, a viral test done in the U.S. can be used to fulfill the requirements of the order as long as the specimen was taken no more than 3 days before your return flight departs. So if it's a quickie, you can use the same test. If your return travel is delayed longer than 3 days after your test, you will need to be retested before your return flight. If you recently recovered from COVID-19, the CDC does not recommend getting tested again in the 3 months after a positive viral test, as long as you don't have symptoms of COVID-19. If you have a positive viral test in the past 3 months and you have met the criteria to end isolation, you may travel instead with documentation of your positive viral test results and a letter from your healthcare provider or a public health official that states that you've been cleared for travel. The positive test result and letter together are referred to as a documentation of recovery. A letter from your healthcare provider or public health official that clears you to end isolation, in other words, to return to work or school, can also be used to show that you're cleared to travel, even if travel isn't specifically mentioned in the letter. Air passengers traveling to the U.S. are required to present a negative COVID-19 test result or documentation of recovery. Airlines must confirm the negative test result or documentation of recovery for all passengers before boarding. If a passenger chooses not to present a test result or documentation of recovery, the airline must deny boarding to the passenger. So what happens if you test positive? People should self-isolate and delay their travel if symptoms develop or a pre-departure test result is positive until they've recovered from COVID-19. Airlines must refuse to board anyone who does not present a negative test result for COVID-19 or documentation of recovery. Passengers are only required to retain a paper or electronic copy of their negative test result or documentation of recovery for the entirety of their itinerary. The attestation should be submitted to and retained by the airline or the aircraft operator. Any flight entering the U.S., even for a connection, will require testing before departure. All travelers, including those who have recovered from COVID-19, should remember to wear a mask, stay at least 6 feet apart from people who are not in your household, and wash their hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds after blowing their nose, coughing, or sneezing, and before eating. Travelers should look for symptoms of COVID-19 and take your temperature if you feel sick. Anyone with symptoms of COVID-19 should self-isolate and delay further travel. In some cases, trip cancellation insurance can protect your financial investment of a trip if you need to change your itinerary. In the event of international outbreak, visit CDC Travelers Health website if you would like to learn more about travel insurance, including trip cancellation insurance. And so there you go. Now we've talked about travelers insurance and cancellation insurance a lot. In these times, you should have it. Always have it. All right. So that's a lot of information. I hope that answers a lot of your questions. And of course, I'm sure everything will change next week. Who knows? But that's what we got so far, and I'll let you know as things progress. So where will you get your test? What kind of test? What kind of test should you get? Right now, there's a lot of places where you will be able to get a test. There's places where you can get it cheaper and faster and more expensive. And it's going to happen. So what I would say is, first of all, check with your healthcare provider like Kaiser, whoever your health insurance is. Some of those places actually will cover the cost of getting a test. Also, you will be able to get a test done at the Puerto Vallarta airport, actually starting today, I believe. And actually, the GAP group, Grupo Aeropuerto del Pacifico, has actually started setting up these COVID-19 testing laboratories in 12 airports all around Mexico, because every passenger that's bound for the United States, as they say, must perform a COVID-19 antigen or PCR COVID-19 detection test within 72 hours prior to boarding the flight to the U.S. And they go on to say that since the United States government requires that every passenger who enters the territory has a negative test, the Pacific Airport Group will carry out these temporary laboratories. We'll have them in these 12 airports, and they will provide quality service to the users. And they will gradually build up these testing facilities. These places will be in the airports of Guadalajara, Tijuana, Los Cabos, Puerto Vallarta, Guanajuato, Hermosillo, Mexicali, Morelia, La Paz, Aguascalientes, Los Mochis, and Manzanillo. The cost of the antigen test will be 450 pesos. That's pretty cheap. 450 pesos is about $25. And the PCR test will actually be 1,450 pesos. So that's about $75. So both prices will be applicable only to passengers on international flights. And they recommend that you arrive in sufficient time so that you can take your flight. If possible, that you can complete the documentation and the requirements to fly, as well as to perform the tests in the city's laboratories. If the passenger wishes to take the test at the airport, he must add a travel itinerary at least an additional hour to the time recommended by the airline. In addition, GAP suggests that passengers consult with the airline, finding their requirements requested by the United States government and learn about the possible changes in their flight itinerary. And so very interesting. And I've got a link to them, to the Aeropuerto GAP. I've got their Facebook and their Twitter and their LinkedIn page in the show notes. So it's very, very interesting. Quite inexpensive, actually, when you think about it. There's lots of options for the travelers, for us travelers out there. There are tests that they're doing right now around town, in the different hospitals. There are different little clinics out there. They are doing both the antigen test and the PCR test. The cheapest test, of course, is the antigen. And, of course, that's acceptable. They'll take that. And I would even say that the antigen test is preferred. Now, many resorts are offering free testing or testing at a very steep discount. And like I said, I am going to have a list. I'm going to have a list of the places in the show notes. And now some of these places I have English isn't spoken, but I put them in there anyway because some of you are comfortable. You're comfortable doing hablando el español, and they might be a little bit easier to deal with. So I'm going to put them in as well. And like I said, I'm going to add as they come along, and I'll be talking about them as the weeks progress. I want to make sure that you feel safe and you feel secure coming to Puerto Vallarta, traveling, and then having to take one of these tests and going home. I have gone to Puerto Vallarta now 3 times, and I'm going to tell you, didn't get sick. I followed proper protocols, and it all went well. Okay. Now, what is the difference? You might be asking, what's the difference between a PCR test and an antigen test? I found some pretty simple explanation here of it on the interwebs over on Horizon Magazine Online. So here goes. It reads, while antigen tests look for proteins on the surface of the virus to ascertain the presence of the pathogen, PCR, or polymerase chain reaction tests, are engineered to seek genetic material called RNA that instructs the virus to make these proteins. Both tests also require a swab from the back of your nose or throat as a sample and cannot determine whether you are contagious if positive, but that's where the similarities end. In the case of PCR, the sample is sent to a lab where it's heated and cooled using special reagents to convert the virus's RNA into DNA and then make millions of copies of the DNA, which allows for the identification of the organism. This process can take hours, requires sophisticated lab equipment and technicians, and is typically done one sample at a time, although there are machines that can process multiple samples. Although the sample needs to be sent to a lab, the time-consuming process delivers, as a result, almost 100% accurate in spotting infected people when there is a virus on the swab. In contrast, the antigen test, often referred to as a rapid test, works by mixing the sample with a solution that unleashes specific viral proteins. That combination is then applied to a paper strip that contains a bespoke antibody optimized to bind these proteins if they are present. Like a home pregnancy test, the result is reflected as a band on the paper strip. The process doesn't require a lab. It can be done in up to 30 minutes, but that speed comes at the cost of sensitivity. Although these tests are reliable when an individual has high viral load, they are far more prone to false negative results if a person has low amounts of the virus in their body. And I have a link to that article in the show notes. And you might be asking, well, what do I suggest? I suggest you take the antigen test, of course. It's 3 days before you travel. Make sure that you don't cut it too close, but take the test. Take the antigen test. It's cheap. It's quick. And if you happen to get a positive reaction, and let's just say that it's positive and you think it's false because you don't feel sick, take it again somewhere else. It's cheap enough. You can take it again and, make sure that it didn't give you a false positive. You don't want to have to quarantine unnecessarily, right? Now, anyhow, that's how I'm not a doctor, but that's what I would suggest. All right. So how was my trip? How was my trip, you might ask? Well, my trip was great. It was good. It was relaxing. The weather was cool at night. It was really great. It was so good to be in Puerto Vallarta, you guys. Now, like I've said before, I'm pretty comfortable taking buses, and I pretty much took buses everywhere. I didn't leave my day pack anywhere this time, luckily. I took the bus up to El Tuito on 3 different occasions this trip. I took a bus up to Bucerias and to La Cruz, public buses. I took multiple buses north and south from where I was staying over at the Hotel La Siesta, which, by the way, was a great find as an Airbnb. I stayed in a studio. They had a little studio apartment there with a king-size bed. It was very comfortable. There was a kitchenette. There was a clean bathroom. It was a killer view, of course. And I actually took a video from that room, and I will embed it in the show notes. If you want to take a look at it, you'll find it at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. Let's see. One of the great things about staying up at the La Siesta is not only does it have a great view, but you can go straight. You go straight down the street, and you have the best. You have the best tacos de birria. You have the best breakfast tacos in Puerto Vallarta. You just walk right down there to Tacos de Birria Alex there, and another 50 yards down the street is Barcelona Tapas. And I had a nice Sunday brunch there. I listened to some beautiful music over at Barcelona Tapas, and enjoyed a wonderful meal. It is 100 steps. There's 100 steps that go from the La Siesta down to the street, all the way down to Si Senor Restaurant. And if you hang a right from there, you run into Cafe Desertistas. So you're right in the middle of everything. You turn left, you're at Pepe's. It was a great spot to be, I got to say. Now, it was a bit noisy because the music comes up. It just comes up the mountain from the Malecon. All those noisy clubs there on the Malecon. The music just comes right up into the El Cerro neighborhood. So, actually, when the bars closed at 10 o'clock, it was actually not bad. Anyway, I have the earplugs, and of course, smoke a lot of weed. It's easy to go to bed. Anyway, by the way, they have a new. Speaking of weed, the baggie, they got a new baggie color. It was green. It's green this time down. They must have finally run out of the Halloween orange baggies, and now they're into the Christmas baggies. So green bags it is until, I don't know, until St. Valentine's Day, where we'll get some red bags. Who knows? But anyway, if you want to see what the bag looks like, I have a picture of it in the show notes. So check out the half baggie of dirt weed over there in the show notes. Now, speaking about meds, I got a lot of people. They're sending me emails. They're asking me about my COVID kit. What do I do? What kind of a COVID kit do I have? What do I bring with me when I go down to Paradise? So, I'm I said, yeah, send me an email. I'll share it with you. But, of course, I am not a doctor. And this is where I put on my legal hat. I'm going to add a disclaimer here that I am not a medical professional, that these suggestions that you're going to be hearing from me are what I do. And I don't suggest that you do any of these things, like change your diet of vitamins or supplements or take any drug without first researching yourself and consulting with a trusted health professional. And with that said, the information that I'm giving out has been diligently researched by myself, and I have links and I have documentation and I have pictures in the show notes that will support my claims. So that's my disclaimer. And get ready, because I'm going to disclaim some more as I go along, okay? I know a lot of people who have gotten the coronavirus here in the United States, actually in Mexico too. And so I ask them, I ask them all, I go, so what did the doctor give you? And they go, nothing. And it's like, they say, just go home and rest. And if you get really sick, just, come into the hospital. So anyway, finally, after just almost a year now, one of my canary in a coal mine, one of the checkers over at the supermarket, came down with the Rona. And I went into the market yesterday. And so I asked Richie, how you doing, Richie? And he says, hey, it's my first day back. I've been sick for 2 weeks. And I said, you got the Rona? And he goes, yeah, I got the Rona. Of course, I hadn't noticed because I'd been in Mexico, so I didn't know that he was gone. I didn't even know he was sick. So I asked him, I said, well, what did they give you? And he literally says, nothing. It's like, and it really makes me mad because there's drugs, there's stuff that you can be taking, that will protect you from having to go into the hospital. It's something that you should be taking. You should be taking certain drugs the minute you start feeling like you're getting sick. So anyway, it makes me mad. So there's treatments. There are tried and true and clinically tested treatments out there that have actually kept people out of hospitals and kept people off of ventilators. And if you had COVID and they put you on a ventilator, they're just trying to kill you. Sorry. Actually, not sorry, because it's documented that ventilators and COVID don't go together. You don't go on a vent. So anyway, I'm not a doctor, but you can go to lots of countries around the world, and lots of different countries around the world have health departments that distribute COVID kits. And these people are directed to start taking this if they start feeling ill. So, all right. So what do I use? What I use is all over the counter. Okay. I can get it here in the United States. I use 6,000 international units of vitamin D3 every day. And Dr. Fauci actually takes 6,000 international units a day. Bet you didn't know that, because he doesn't want to tell you. But he does. I also take about 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. I take 25 milligrams of elemental zinc every day. I take a multivitamin. I take a supplement called quercetin for my lungs and vascular help. You can get all that stuff over the counter, but I order mine, all that stuff online. And that's what I take every day. And actually, if you just start with the vitamin D3, it's a great start. Now, some people, they have a bad reaction to zinc, like my wife does. But if that's you, just cut the dose in half or just skip it all together. You don't really necessarily need it. Make sure you get yourself some vitamin D3. I started taking that about 4 years ago after I had a cold. One of my podcasting buddies said he never gets a cold. He says, I always take vitamin D3. So I started doing that, and I haven't had a cold since. So let's say that you think that you're coming down with what feels like it's going to be a flu or a cold. Well, what do? Well, for that, I'd add maybe some powdered vitamin C to what I just talked about there. And maybe I would even add some Z-Pak, maybe some azithromycin, like 500 milligrams. And maybe I would add some hydroxychloroquine. Can you buy that stuff in Puerto Vallarta? Yes, you can. You can buy hydroxy over the counter in Puerto Vallarta. And just make sure that it's hydroxychloroquine, and not regular chloroquine. Chloroquina. They sell the chloroquina. I saw that in a lot of pharmacies. 150 milligram packs of 12. But what you really want is the hydroxychloroquina, and that will come in a box of 20 pills, 200 milligram pills each. And yeah, you can get that over the counter. The brand name is Himenix, and that 20 pack will cost you about 900 pesos, or about $45 US. You can also get azithromycin. You can get it in a bottle of 9 500 milligram tablets. So 2 bottles of 9 500 milligram tablets cost me, that was 18 tablets, cost me about 950 pesos. And once again, that comes to about $47.50 US. And that actually comes under the brand name of Zerdolin. Now it may take you a couple of pharmacies to get exactly what you want for your kit, but you can make your own. I have one for my whole family. And so there you go. If I ever need it, if I ever had a situation, I would have a kit. But so far, so good. And so there you have it. Remember, I am not a doc, and you should always consult a physician before you change anything drastic about your vitamins and your supplements, or if you add anything like that. I do have a link to dosages and whatnot in the show notes for the Zelenko protocol, which is what that all entails. And once again, this is just my intake of over-the-counter vitamins and supplements, and the other 2 Mexican medicines are strictly over-the-counter in Mexico. And of course, you can get them at your favorite pharmacia and my favorite pharmacia over on Olos Altos. You'll know the one I'm talking about, I think. Okay. All right. Now, I think what I'll do is, because we are pretty deep here, I think we're going to get into the play-by-play version of my 10-day stay in Puerto Vallarta next week. But before I get to the interview with Victor, I just want to thank the listeners who came to our digital nomad meet and greet over on the roof of the Hotel Paloma del Mar over at the La Traviata. We also met some digital nomads there too. And we'll be hearing from all of them in the next few weeks over on the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. But like I was saying, I met some lovely listeners over at the meet and greet. I met Carol and Michael and his wife Becky. We had a great 3-way conversation over some beer and some pizza. And Carol, please, I know you're listening right now. I need your picture so that I can have your smiling face on the album cover of the podcast episode. So please, send me an email. Send it to pvtravelshow@gmail.com and send me a picture of yourself so I can add you into the show notes and all that other good stuff. And yes, we had a really, really great time. And next time you are in town, we're going to do it again. And we're going to get 2 episodes out of that. So that was great. Okay, now there's so much I want to tell you about my last trip. I really, really had a great time. You need to go. And if you're not chased away by everything that I just said, all these new roadblocks that the CDC has now placed in front of you, if you're ready to step out of your comfort zone and into paradise, please don't hesitate. Go, really. Your friends in Puerto Vallarta, they really need you. They need your dollars. They need you to come. It's safe. If you feel like you want to go, just go. Really, just go. All right. Next week, we're going to talk more about my trip. Let's get to our guest. We have interviewed rock and rollers before on the show, but never a rock and roll realtor. This is going to be a first one. But, imagine a musician with a real job, right? A dream come true for some of you gals out there. But anyway, I like having musicians on the show because they know where all the good music is. They know where all the good clubs are, and they can talk about that. They also know where the great food is, where the great grub is, and they have great stories. And most of all, they know how to have a really, really good time. So let's go to one of my very, very favorite places in Puerto Vallarta to listen to music. And we're going to go over to Cuantos y Cohetes because that's where I met Victor Vera. Victor is he's a cool cat. He's cool. He wears the shades. He's got the hair. He's got the rings. He's got the look. He's a lead singer. He's a lead singer over at the Gecko band, and he's a rock and roll realtor. So anyway, let's go over and meet Victor Vera of the Gecko band, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Victor, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you, my friend.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from, and what was your path that led you to Puerto Vallarta?
Okay. I am from Mexico City, and I lived there the first 20-something years of my life. I moved to Puerto Vallarta on 1997.
97, all right.
1997. Why? Well, I had a friend in Mexico City. One time we were in a party. It's funny, everything born in a party. I was in a party in Mexico City, and suddenly someone took out a guitar, and I started playing some tunes in the guitar and singing. And this guy said, "Man, you should go to Puerto Vallarta, because I had my band in Mexico City, years ago."
Yeah.
And he said, "You should go to Puerto Vallarta." And I said, "Well, why not? Yeah, I'll try."
Yeah. Had you been to Puerto Vallarta before?
Never.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All right. So when you landed here, what was it like? What was it like for you?
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. First people I tried to find was the parents of my friend who suggested me to come here. I never found them. They were supposed to help me out with anything I would need here.
Yeah.
But I never found them. I found them like weeks later.
Right.
But I found this place beautiful. It was a beautiful place for me compared to Mexico City.
Yeah.
Don't misunderstand me. I love Mexico City, but this is
paradise,
something completely
right?
different.
Yeah.
I told my wife, let's go, let's try. Maybe we can stay there for a couple of months and come back to Mexico City. Well, I've never went back to Mexico City since then.
Wow. All right. So that's 23 years.
Exactly.
Wow. All right. So when you hit the ground here, did you just look around for a gig? I mean, what did you do?
Yes. We stayed in a hotel in Versalles called, I can't remember the name. Well, it was right next to the Ojara Marlene Hotel.
Okay.
In Versalles, right across from Plaza Genovesa. Next to Blockbuster, remember?
Oh,
Blockbuster?
Yeah, sure.
So, downstairs, there was a bar called Ojara Rock. And I got here on February 14th. It was Valentine's Day. So I told my wife, let's go downstairs and see what's going on in that bar. So it was a rock and roll bar. There was a live rock band. Cassandra, it was called. My good friend Javier Gonzalez was playing there. I met him there. And suddenly they were playing some tune, and I knew the tune, and I said, "May I jam this song with you guys?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." So I jammed with them, and I got a job like 3 days after that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
so soon. I've been crying all night long to talk to you. Come
Just by chance that all
Yeah,
happened.
exactly. Yeah,
Just downstairs from the hotel that you were staying at.
yeah. I was just planning on, having some good time with my wife there, but suddenly I got a job,
So then you got a job, and so
which was what I was looking for.
Yeah, what was the name of that band?
Cassandra.
Cassandra, right?
Cassandra.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, and so that obviously that's you've moved on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it was funny because I knew that tune that I was singing with them, that I jammed with them, and maybe like 10 more songs.
Oh wow!
So I got a job, and when I sang my 10 songs, and after those 10 songs, this guy said, "Okay,
What more you got?
what else?" And I said, "Well, I think that's it." So I started, studying because I had my band in Mexico City, but that was an original band.
Okay.
We had original tunes.
Right, right.
So
So you knew about 10 top
10,
20
12,
tunes, and you're all
exactly,
there, right?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. The good ones, yeah.
Of course, of course.
And but it was good. I just started studying new songs,
Right.
songs that I already knew, but I just needed to study them. And that was it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep,
all right.
basically,
So
yep.
you are now known as the, I guess you're the head guy over at the Gecko band.
That's right.
All right. So the Geckos, when did they form?
That's another funny story. The Gecko band was born in 2000.
Okay.
2000. I was playing with Cassandra. I was singing with Cassandra. We were playing at this place called Paradise. No, Cheeseburger in Paradise.
Okay.
Now it's
sure.
called Paradise Burger,
Yeah, yeah.
on Malecon. And it was a Hawaiian franchise. So, for different reasons, my friend from Cassandra couldn't keep doing it. So, we were done. And the owners of the restaurant said, "Hey, okay, Cassandra is done, but we want you. So, do you have a band? I mean, can you still playing here with the band, singing here with the band?" And I said, "Well, I have to create a band. I don't have a band." So I started looking for friends, a guitar player, a bass player, a keyboard player, a drummer. And like after a week, I was ready to start with my own band. So we started playing there. We rehearsed, and we started playing there at Paradise Burger. Cheeseburger in Paradise.
Sure. Yeah.
And of course, I had more than 10 songs by that time.
Oh yeah, you built it up by
Yeah.
now.
So
You've had 3 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the ladies, the owners of Cheeseburger in Paradise, asked me, "Okay, what's the name of your band?" And I said, "Well, it has no name. You tell me. You want me to be called Cheeseburger Band or House Band or whatever?" And she said, No, just pick a name, but I would suggest you to pick a name, a very like Hawaiian name, something related to Hawaii.
Okay.
So I think I Googled, I don't know, some way I researched something related to Hawaii. I've never been to Hawaii. So Pineapple Band, no, I don't think it's a good name. So, okay, the Geckos. The Geckos are very, they're pretty
They're
typical.
They're around there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I said, well, the Gecko Band. The Gecko Band. And that's how we started with
That's
the
how you
Gecko
did
Band
it.
in
That
2000.
works really well because it's Hawaiian and it's very Puerto Vallarta. I hear
Exactly.
the geckos barking at night all the
Exactly.
time.
That's right.
All right.
It applies for both places, right?
Yeah, it does. Excellent. All right. So, and then you played over at Cheeseburger in Paradise for how long?
6 years.
6 years. Wow.
6
So you
years.
were like the house band.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
There were another 2 bands, I think, in different days of the week.
Yeah.
But we were playing there 6 nights a week. So, yes, we were the house band.
Yeah. No doubt. Now, do you still do that, or you kind of spread yourself out, right? You now. I know a lot of bands they're not just a one-stop shop. They're moving around on a kind of a circuit, right?
That's right. Yes.
So, what's your circuit look like this year?
We will be playing this season. We will be playing basically in the same places where we used to play the last couple of seasons. There were just a couple of changes, and those couple of changes were because of the COVID thing.
Yeah.
Basically. We will be playing on, normally our days off were on Mondays. Now our day off will be on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. We need a day off.
Oh yeah, no
for
doubt.
Sure. We'll be playing 6 nights a week, and we will be playing on Mondays at Bahía de Banderas Brewery, which is located in Buzorías. It's a beautiful open
new?
place. No, I thought it was a new place, but it's not.
Okay.
Apparently, a lot of my friends and followers know that place already.
Good.
It's in Buzorías on the other side of the road, but it's a beautiful, beautiful open place.
Nice.
So we will be playing there on Mondays starting at 6 o'clock. Can I say all this, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Tuesdays, we're off. Wednesdays, we will be playing at... Wednesdays, we'll be playing at El Rio Barbecue.
Yeah.
El Rio Barbecue starting
place.
at 3 o'clock. Everybody knows El Rio Barbecue.
Oh, yeah. Everybody loves El Rio.
Thursdays, we'll be playing at the Cathedral of Rock in Vallarta, Roxy Rock House.
Okay.
We'll
That's
be playing
the
at Roxy
cathedral,
Rock House.
All right.
Fridays, we'll be playing at Chasers in Nuevo Vallarta, Chasers Sports Bar and Grill
Okay.
in Nuevo, starting at 8 o'clock. And Saturdays, we'll still be playing at El Chivero. Our beach parties are still on.
Where's El Chivero?
El Chivero is in Buzorías.
Okay. On the beach.
On the beach, right on the beach.
Okay.
Right on the main beach in Buzorías. We play there from 3 to 6.
Nice.
And it's a fun gig, man. It's a great...
I've never heard of that place.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You should go.
I should go. I'm heading up to Bucerías anyway because they close this town at 8:30.
Every Saturday at 3 o'clock. Then Sundays we'll be playing also in Buzorías at La Pisantería. La Pisantería, it's another great place, beautiful open place in Buzorías.
Okay.
We will be playing there on Sundays starting at 5 o'clock.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Well, so you're doing a lot of stuff over in Nayarit. You're over in Bucerías a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. That happened, eventually. We were playing, most of our gigs at the beginning were in Puerto Vallarta, and then we started moving a little bit, So now I'm playing in Puerto Vallarta, Nuevo, and Buzorías.
Wow. All right. So you were saying that the Cathedral of in Vallarta is over at the Roxy, right?
That's right.
All right. So you would say that of all the places that you perform, you get the best sound there. You get the best. Why do you say that about the Roxy?
About the Roxy, when I got here, like 20-something years ago, I was walking all over Puerto Vallarta, and I walked right in front of the Roxy, and I thought, man, I would love to play here someday. That was 20 years ago. I said, I would love to play here someday. This is a wonderful place. I saw the Roxy house band by then, and I said, I love this place. It's amazing. It was like a rock and roll icon for me here. So years later, I played there. Yeah. Now Roxy is owned by a couple of good friends of mine, and one of those friends is my guitar player. So.
All right, there you have it.
Exactly.
Do you play an instrument?
I play a little bit of everything. A little bit of guitar, a little bit of bass, a little bit of drums. Yeah.
But you're lead singer. I mean, that's basically
what I enjoy, man. I enjoy singing.
Well,
yes.
You got a great voice, man. You got a great voice. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about some of these places that are around Puerto Vallarta. Okay, if Roxy is number one, what's number two?
Well, in Puerto Vallarta, El Rio Barbecue, it's another beautiful place. I really enjoyed playing at El Rio Barbecue because it's a mix of many, many beautiful things. The beach, the river, the mountains, It's open. I think, Barry, that now people will be looking for places to hang out where they feel safe.
Yeah.
I think that our lives will be completely changed from now and then. It's like before COVID and after COVID, right?
Yeah.
So I think that people will be looking for places where they feel safe.
Right.
And this is what I decided to do this season. Picking only the places where people feel safe.
Excellent. Got
Right.
it. Yeah. Yeah. That, you
Doesn't
nailed it.
matter what. I know that there are different opinions about this COVID thing, but this is something that we just have to have in mind, that people need to be and feel safe.
Right. It'll be with us for a little while.
Yep.
What would you? Do you have a third? What would be right down the line after that?
La Pisanteria.
Tell us about La Pisanteria.
La Pisanteria. It's a great restaurant. They just don't have pizza. They have really good food. They have great pastas. They have good salads, and again, it's an open place. Friendly staff. That's very important.
Oh, yeah,
when
absolutely.
the staff make you feel welcome and make you feel comfortable. Of course, they follow all the safety rules and I enjoy playing there. We used to play at the Drunken Duck for the past maybe 4 or 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Now the Drunken Duck is gone.
Oh.
So maybe La Pisanteria will be the place that will replace our gigs at the Drunken
At the
Duck.
Drunken Duck.
I think it will be the new, because we do a lot of charity events and a lot of fundraisers. So La Pisanteria is a perfect place to do all those fundraisers in Bucerías.
Good. You want to tell us a little bit about the different fundraisers you do? We've talked about it on the show before, but
Okay.
maybe you want to tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. We have a little organization called Hand to Hand Brigade. We started it basically by accident because a friend of ours was struggling with his daughter's disease years ago, like 5 years ago. It was 5 years ago. And we decided to do a couple of gigs to help him out, to help her out. And we started doing those gigs and asking for people's help, like donations. And we charged like a cover on those places where we made those gigs. And those covers were given to our friend. So we realized that people love to support other people, and we could be like a Rock's Q team. Rock and roll helps, man.
I love that. Yeah.
People who love rock and roll go and support us, and when they know that we're supporting other people, they feel so happy doing it.
They're
So
there.
we're starting doing that. Then there was an earthquake, and we did the same thing for the people who were damaged by the earthquake. Then the hurricane. It was Hurricane Willa.
Uh-huh.
So we did some gigs to support all those people. My wife used to go there and deliver all the goods that people were donating. And we got some cash help. So we bought mattresses, and we bought food, and we bought water. And with the help of other good friends that I have, like jeepers, like bikers, other foundations that are here in Puerto Vallarta, so we helped each other in order to deliver those items to the people who need it. It's called Hand to Hand Brigade because we also found out that sometimes when you bring your stuff to collection centers, sometimes not all of it gets to the place.
Yeah.
So, or sometimes it gets a little political. So we decided to deliver all the items hand to hand, from our hands to the people that needed it. So that's how Hand to Hand Brigade started,
Nice.
and we're still doing it.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'll have, whenever you have events, you let me know, and I'll be
Absolutely.
announcing that, of
Sure,
course,
I will.
to the audience. I appreciate
Absolutely, my friend.
I appreciate what you do. You've got the band. You do all this great charity. And I know you also do something else. I know that you're a realtor like me, right?
That's right.
All right. So let's talk about that.
The rocker broker.
You're the okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about your business.
Sure. I started in real estate basically here in Puerto Vallarta. My family in Mexico City, I have lots of relatives who do this. But in Mexico City, I did it for a very short time. I could say that I started in real estate professionally in Puerto Vallarta. I worked for a couple of companies, real estate companies here in Puerto Vallarta. I had a wonderful partner here, Marla Hoover, from Washington, from Gig Harbor, Washington. I started with her as a partner, and originally she asked me to help her with our Mexican clients.
Yeah.
But it was funny because we didn't have any Mexican clients. So I started helping her with that. So we were working at Tropicasa at that time. Then, we started at Timothy Fuller and Associates. Now it's Timothy, I think.
Uh-huh.
Then Tropicasa. Then I started selling Portofino. I was part of the sales team in Portofino. And then I started my own, Vera Realty. So my wife is in charge of the rental area. I'm in charge of the sales. And basically, that's it. Yep.
Yeah, all right.
I sell real estate, and I love it, man. That's another passion that I have.
I do too.
Yep.
You and I have that in common for sure.
Yes.
Well, I'll make sure that I add that into our little information here so that you have all of his, all of Victor Vera's, information there so that if you need a house, you can give him a call.
Okay.
Or a condo or whatever was going on over
Absolutely.
there.
Yeah.
All right. Let's leave work and let's get out in the city and let's play a little bit. Let's talk about food because
I love food.
Yeah. Well, doesn't everybody? Okay,
you can tell, right?
Well, no. This is a bonus round. So, we want to know your favorite breakfast, lunch, and dinner spots. They could be in Puerto Vallarta. They could be you're spending some time in Buceria, so they could be there too. So. Maybe even a hole in the wall or like some sort of a crazy little, place that nobody ever, like a hidden gem, So let's talk about breakfast. What's your favorite breakfast places?
It's funny, when you live here, you don't go out that much. I'm not a restaurant expert or a bar expert. You just go to the places because I spend most of my time working.
Yeah.
But when your relatives get here, when you got visitors, when you got family, they always ask, hey, so where should we go to have breakfast? Where should we go to have lunch? Where should we go to drink? Where should we go? So it's a difficult thing because you have to research. Where should I go and have a good breakfast? Now, after all these years, I think breakfast, I love los alcatraces. Los alcatraces, I just love los alcatraces.
Which one? They've got one, I think. Don't they have one in the marina, and they have one here too, right?
When my family's here, I like to go to the marina because they can enjoy the view, they can enjoy the yacht club, they can enjoy the view of the ocean.
Yeah.
Personally, I love the one by Fluvial.
Uh-huh.
I love it there. I also like the Nuevo Vallarta. I love them all, because it doesn't matter where you go to Los Alcatraces, the food is always the same. It's really good food.
Right.
That's for breakfasts. Lunch and dinner, well, there are many places. I love Margarita Grill.
Okay.
I love Margarita Grill.
What do you get when you go to Margarita Grill? What do you order?
Most of the times when I go there, I get the molcajete, the beef molcajete.
Uh-huh. Tell everybody what a molcajete is. Tell everybody what a molcajete is.
A molcajete. Molcajete is a stone bowl where normally Mexicans use it to
grind, right?
Grinding, exactly.
Uh-huh.
So with a stone.
Uh-huh.
So I make really good salsas with the molcajete.
Nice.
But in some restaurants they use them to serve the food, and it's a beautiful presentation.
Yeah.
It looks really, really nice. And this molcajete is full of a delicious. My mouth is watering now.
I know, right?
Green sauce, onions, shrimp or beef or chicken, chorizo, nopal.
Nopal, which is the cactus.
Exactly,
right?
like a cactus. And it's just delicious, man.
Yeah, it's
corn tortillas. That's my favorite.
These molcajetes they're carved out of lava rock, right?
That's right. I love those molcajetes.
Oh yeah, and it is dramatic when they put one of those bubbling things in front of you. It is very
man.
dramatic. Isn't it?
It is. It's a whole experience. It's experience for your eyes, for your nose, for your mouth. It's beautiful.
All right. So so we got the Margarita Grill. What else?
Margarita Grill is a good place. Another good place for us. I love to go to. I love seafood. And here, we know all the good seafood places in town, but there are small places that people doesn't know. Not every people know. There's a place here in town called Mariscos El Cólera, and I love to go there.
What do you order when you order over at Mariscos El Cólera?
Mariscos El Cólera. I love the balazos. First of all, they have it's between a drink and a plate, which have a tomato sauce. They have tomato juice. They put some shrimps on it. Sometimes they put a little tequila on it.
Nice. Oh wow.
Yeah.
How interesting.
They're called balazos.
Balazos.
And when I go there, I normally order a fish fillet or a shrimp cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
Las empanadas are really good.
Yeah.
Shrimp empanadas are very good. And basically, that's it.
Wow. Okay.
I normally try to try everything on the menu when I go to different places.
Why not? Yeah. How about if you were going to leave town, let's just say for a day, and come back, where would you go?
Music. When you work in music here, or in any touristic place, you have a high season and you have a low season. So during the low season is when we have a chance to really go out and visit new places. On my day off, I just have to go somewhere really close from here because I know that I will have to work the day after. So on my day off, I love to go to sometimes I go to Sayulita, sometimes I just stay at home and relax and watch Netflix and order a pizza or something. We love to go to Las Animas. Sometimes we go to Boca de Tomates and spend some time there with other friends. But on our low season is when we go out of Puerto Vallarta. But basically on our day off we stay here.
Yeah.
And just go to
you got to
different
stay
places.
Close.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
You have to stay close.
All right, but what if you had 3 days? What if you had 3 days and you were going to go somewhere and you actually got a few days off?
I have family in Guadalajara. Mexico City is too far.
Yeah.
It's too far to go in 3 days. But if I would have 3 days off, I would go to Guadalajara, visit my family there. I have some good friends there also. If I would have more than 3 days, if I had a week, maybe I would go to San Luis Potosí. Oh, I love it, man.
I've never been.
A few years ago, I used to live in a beautiful, beautiful town close to Mexico City, about 2 hours from Mexico City, called Tequisquiapan. Beautiful colonial Mexican town. And by the way, we moved there for a couple of years because they started like a real estate project there.
Okay.
And I went there to sell it. But we were supposed to be there like 4 months, and we stayed for 2 years.
Yeah.
Beautiful place.
Wow.
And besides that, the weather is totally different, so we rest a little bit from the hot weather in Puerto Vallarta, so we went to this cool, beautiful weather in Tequisquiapan. So I told my wife, if we have another couple of weeks off, maybe we should go to Tequisquiapan and visit our friends there.
Nice.
Beautiful place.
Oh,
yes.
It sounds great. Now I'm going to have to look it up. I'll put links of that. I put links to these all in the show notes, and you can find them, of course, at www.puertovallartravelshow.com. Make sure you go and look there. Do you have any words of advice for a first-time visitor to Puerto Vallarta?
Sure. maybe my comment will be a little controversial, but I'll do it anyway.
Why not, man?
Puerto Vallarta, I think it's a beautiful and safe place. I think it's still one of the safest places in Mexico. When I came here from Mexico City, which is a huge city, and I was amazed about how people trust in other people here. I've seen people going to the bank on their bicycle and leave the bicycle outside the bank and get in the bank. So one time it was funny. I saw that one time, and this guy get off his bicycle and get in the bank and just put his bicycle against the wall. And Rosie, my wife, said, let's get into the bank, because we were going to the bank. And I said, no, I'm going to wait here because this guy left his bicycle there and someone will steal it. So you go there. I'll
be with you shortly.
I'll be with you shortly. I have to keep an eye on this guy's bicycle. I wouldn't like anyone to steal his bicycle.
Right.
So I was there for 10 minutes, and suddenly the guy went out and got on his bicycle and left. So I said, wow, this is a safe place.
Fooled you.
Yeah, I was so used to Mexico City. If you go to Mexico City in a bicycle and you get your bicycle out there, you won't find your bicycle after that. So anyway, so it's a beautiful and safe place. But my advice for my American friends, Canadian friends, or European friends, whatever, people who come here for the first time, is it's a safe place, but you still have to take care. Don't sleep with your doors open, because I was so amazed of it that I thought that nothing happened here, but things happen everywhere.
Yeah.
So you just have to be careful.
Yeah.
Still have
No
to
doubt.
take care.
Be aware.
Be aware. Exactly.
Don't drop your guard.
That's right.
Do you have any words of warning? Would that be the same kind of thing? Would you say a word of warning? Would that be kind of the same kind of advice?
Yeah. That's something, because it happened that a couple of friends of mine had experiences that they thought that they would never have here. So that's why that's my suggestion, right? You have to beware. Yeah, but besides that, it's an amazing place. My advice would be, try to go everywhere you want. Try to visit all these beautiful places that Puerto Vallarta has for you. We just don't have the beach. We just don't have the ocean. We just don't have the wonderful views. We just don't have the Malecon. We have beautiful people. We have beautiful people. We have art. We have markets. We have artisans making beautiful things for them. We have reasonable prices. I think you should really get into what Puerto Vallarta has for you. The art, the music, because there's a lot of music everywhere.
Oh yeah,
and all kind of music, not just rock and roll, not just jazz. We have everything here, and I'm so happy, and I feel so lucky to be here. I can't imagine myself being somewhere else now.
But you do go other places. You
Absolutely.
do. You go to Canada. I
Yes.
saw you were in Canada last year. Of course, you couldn't do that this year because of the COVID.
Because of the COVID, that's
now,
right.
was that your first Canadian trip, or was it? Have you done that several times?
This year was going to be our fourth Canadian trip. 4 years ago, we went to Canada. We had 5 gigs. We played 5 gigs in Canada 4 years ago. It was an amazing experience. We felt so welcome, so happy, so Canadian friends made us feel so at home,
Yeah.
It was really, really good. We went there for 5 gigs 4 years ago. 3 years ago, we repeated our Canadian tour, but this time 14 gigs.
Wow.
3 years ago, we played 14 gigs, basically in Saskatchewan. The first year, we went to Alberta and Saskatchewan. Second year, we went to Saskatchewan and Alberta again, mostly in Saskatchewan. We had 14 gigs, but most of them were in Saskatchewan. And the third year, we went there and played 22 gigs.
Oh my gosh.
22 gigs on the third year.
Wow.
Saskatchewan, Alberta, and BC. We went to Kelowna, And it was an amazing experience, man. It was amazing experience. And this year we had 30 gigs booked already, but unfortunately we couldn't make it.
Yeah.
But 20 of those 30 bookings are already booked for next year.
They're ready for you when
That's right.
when they break free.
2021, that's right.
Oh man, that is so
Yes,
cool.
my
That
friend.
is so cool. So you are. I mean, you're international, bro. You are.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, let's get back to the Gecko Band.
Okay.
You guys have a Facebook page. You got Instagram. What do you got?
Yes, we do. We have a Facebook fan page, which is www.facebook.com/thegek, or you just can reach it by Gecko Band Vallarta. That's our fan page. We have our Gecko Fan Club page. You just get Gecko Fan Club and you send a request and we'll accept you. Why do we have those two pages? Well, one is more personal. The other one is, we advertise our gigs. We advertise our events. In the Gecko Fan Club, we do lots of stupid things, like personal things. I can cook and, I give some cooking recipes. I love cooking. That's another passion that I have.
Yeah.
So, yes, that's
So
it.
yeah, so subscribe so you can learn how to cook. And Victor, he's going to show you the proper way to make chilaquiles. So watch out, man. This is how that's going to work out. All right, so I'll have all those links in the show notes, of course, and you know where to find them. I'm not going to tell you again because I just did. Victor, is there anything else you want to add before we say goodbye today?
I'd like to thank you, my friend. I enjoyed this interview. I enjoyed seeing you in person. And thank you very much. No, that's it. I just want to say thank you very much to all my friends and Gecko Band followers. Thank you for all these years of support. Thank you for everything you've done for our Mexican fellas during the COVID. Thank you very much. I am here. The Gecko Band is here waiting for you guys. And we'll see you soon.
Excelente, my friend.
Gracias, amigo.
Thanks for coming on the show, bro.
Thank you, my friend.
All right, Victor. Thank you so much for your time. I love you, man. Now, hey, make sure you get over there. Go over to the Facebook and look up the Gecko Band PV. Join the fan club. And make sure that whenever you come to Puerto Vallarta, find out where they're playing and get on over there and rock and roll, I've got pictures, I got links, and everything that you need over at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. All right, well, that should do it for this week. Next week, stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with travel tips, great restaurant excursion ideas, and more. But until then, remember that this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something that I should be talking about, well, please reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and send us your message. And remember, if you're considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com. That's JR's website. Reserve your tour through him right from his website. Remember, this is a value-for-value proposition. His experience and his knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that you would do anyway. You're just doing it through him as a way of saying thanks. Thanks, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you were going to use someone else. So do it, really. And when you take one of those tours, email me about your experiences. Maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending off a message. And remember, he's got his maps, his DIY tours, his revitalized happy hour board and more. And I have links to all of those in the show notes. And then once again, if you like this podcast, please take the time and subscribe and give me a good review on iTunes if you would. That way we can get the word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And remember, I made it easy for you to do just that with each episode I create. And if you haven't been to my website, you really need to have a look there. I have links to the places that we talk about. I've got interesting pictures and more right there in the blog posts and in the show notes for every episode of the show. So check them out for sure if you haven't already. All right? Okay. Thank you so much to Victor Vera from the Gecko Band. Catch him next time that you're in town. Remember, Victor is in a real estate business too. He's got all of his services there, and I have links to all of that in the show notes. And once again, I want to thank all of you for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler signing off with a wish for you to slow down, come to Puerto Vallarta, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
De Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar, samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar. Solo camino, perno por la playa, me encuentro junto al río, cuando todo está en calma, pronto cae la noche, me brillas Puerto Vallarta, samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar, de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar, samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar, samba de Puerto Vallarta.